You know, it's funny how we constantly confuse innovation with just slapping a shiny new feature onto an old product, isn't it? We kind of just assume a better camera on a phone or a sleeker physical design is what actually changes the world. But what if I told you that the absolute most powerful disruptions of our lifetime didn't start with a new product at all? Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to completely challenge everything you assume about business innovation. We're going to see exactly how the world's most dominant companies didn't just play the game better, they literally rewrote the entire rulebook.
So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. Beyond the buzzword. 2. The business model canvas. 3. Asset-light platform networks. 4. Ecosystems and subscriptions. 5. Mastering network effects. And 6. Your innovation blueprint.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. Beyond the buzzword. Rethinking value. Let's dive into this by fundamentally reframing how we look at competition and survival in today's fiercely competitive market. I really want to ask you directly, when you think of a scrappy startup taking down a massive legacy industry, what do you picture? Do you picture a better piece of tech, or do you picture a completely different way of doing business? The truth is, legacy industries don't die because of a single new product feature. They fall behind because their entire foundational structure gets outmaneuvered.
And that brings us perfectly to this definition. True disruption is business model innovation. This is the strategic act of fundamentally rethinking exactly how your company creates, delivers, and captures value. Think of it this way. You aren't just giving a car a fresh paint job, you're ripping out the combustion engine and replacing it with an electric battery. By innovating your business model, you build an incredibly strong competitive moat. You change the rules of the game so thoroughly that larger, heavily funded competitors literally cannot replicate your success without cannibalizing their own legacy profits. It's a real game changer.
Moving on to Section 2, the business model canvas, your DNA blueprint.
Okay, so this is the business model canvas, which was originally developed by Strategizer. Now, for decades, entrepreneurs and executives practically tortured themselves writing these dense, 60-page business plans that, let's be honest, absolutely nobody ever read. This canvas replaces all of that bulk. It visualizes your entire business infrastructure, your customer base, and your financial viability on a single dynamic piece of paper. It's a fantastic hands-on tool that fosters immediate understanding and creativity.
When you look at its 9 building blocks, it really all clicks together like a giant puzzle. One side represents your operational efficiency, so your key partners, activities, and resources. And the flip side is all about the customer, your relationships, channels, and segments. But the absolute most crucial point is right there, right in the middle. Block number 1, the value proposition. This is the bridge. It asks, what specific problem are we actually solving for our customer? If you nail the center, the operational side and the customer-facing side align perfectly to generate those bottom blocks, your cost structure, and your revenue streams.
That takes us to Section 3, Asset-Light Platform Networks, Connecting Supply and Demand.
So how do you take that blank canvas and turn it into a global empire? Well, we'll start with the disruptors who built platform networks. Just contrast the traditional taxi industry with Uber. Legacy transportation companies required massive capital, buying cars, maintaining fleets, hiring full-time drivers, the whole shebang. Uber just threw that entire cost structure right out the window. They adopted an asset-light approach. They don't actually own cars, they just own the digital marketplace connecting independent drivers with riders. By simply facilitating that connection, Uber enabled an explosive, low-cost global scaling model. They subsidized early users to kickstart the network, and once it was humming along, they seamlessly leveraged that exact same infrastructure to launch Uber Eats.
We see the exact same asset-light brilliance with Airbnb. Traditional hotels spend hundreds of millions of dollars to build and own real estate. Airbnb didn't invent a new type of building. They invented a completely new way to connect supply and demand. They activated a massive pool of dormant supply, people's empty spare bedrooms. But here is what's truly fascinating. Airbnb's actual product isn't a room. Their core product is a multi-layered trust engine. By building verified profiles, secure payments, and two-way reviews, they basically engineered trust between complete strangers. And once that trust was established, they completely upended the entire hospitality industry.
Which leads us to Section 4, Ecosystems and Subscriptions, Locking in Value.
The thing is, once you've established a network or a solid customer base, the absolute most defensible business models create closed-loop ecosystems and recurring revenue streams. Just look at Tesla. They didn't just build a cool electric car. They shattered the century-old automotive dealership model.
Instead of relying on third-party franchisees where customers have to do that awful price haggling, Tesla audaciously vertically integrated. They own the showrooms, the service centers, and the supercharger network. This direct-to-consumer model means Tesla owns the entire relationship. They get an unfiltered data feedback loop from every single driver, which allows them to push over-the-air software updates that literally improve the car while it sits parked in your driveway. They took a static vehicle and turned it into an evolving ecosystem.
Or think about this brilliant strategy from Dollar Shave Club. Solve a process, not just a product problem. I mean, they realized the razor itself wasn't really the issue. The actual pain point was standing in a pharmacy waiting for an employee to unlock a plastic security fortress just to dramatically overpay for replacement blades. Dollar Shave Club weaponized a hilarious, irreverent brand personality and paired it with a direct-to-consumer subscription model. They didn't need to invent better shaving technology. They just delivered convenience and cost-effectiveness straight to your front door, culminating in a billion-dollar acquisition.
And as you'll see, varying disruption tactics lead to massively different outcomes. Take Netflix. They willingly cannibalized their own highly profitable DVD business to pioneer streaming, using massive content spends to build an unbeatable global subscription moat. Amazon built this crazy self-reinforcing flywheel, where lower prices bring more customers, which then attracts more third-party sellers, ultimately creating the everything store ecosystem. Spotify masterfully used a free ad-supported tier as a massive funnel to pull users in before converting them to premium subscriptions. And Peloton brilliantly merged premium physical hardware with a recurring content subscription, creating a sticky, cult-like community. Every single one of these companies prioritized locking in value over the long haul.
All right, Section 5, Mastering Network Effects, the Growth Engine.
This brings us to the economic engine that actually fuels all of these canvases and case studies we've been talking about, network effects. We've all heard the term tossed around to explain the rise of big tech. At its core, it's a dynamic where a platform's value increases as more people use it. Think of the early telephone network. Totally useless if you were the only person with a phone, but it became invaluable as millions joined. But here is the catch. Recent research from IESE Business School warns that simply piling up massive quantities of users is absolutely no guarantee of a positive, lasting feedback loop. Quantity alone just doesn't cut it anymore.
Platform survival isn't just about user volume. It's heavily dependent on what those users are actually exchanging. For Uber, a ride is just a ride. The platform works by offering identical, transient utility. You honestly don't care which car picks you up, just that one arrives quickly. That's low persistence but high identicality. On the flip side, survival for a platform like eBay or the App Store depends on extreme variety. A buyer on eBay is looking for something unique. If eBay only sold one single identical item, the network would collapse overnight. Understanding whether your network relies on identical utility or immense variety is the absolute secret to keeping users locked in rather than just passing through.
And finally, Section 6, Your Innovation Blueprint, Core Principles. Let's synthesize all of this disruption into a tangible game plan. If you are looking at your own business, your own startup, or even your own career, here are the 4 shared strategic pillars that separate enduring market leadership from a business model firmly anchored in the past. First, build ecosystems, not just standalone products. Create environments where your offerings naturally reinforce each other. Second, prioritize recurring revenue. The era of the one-time transactional sale is dying out fast. Subscriptions and memberships foster real stability. Third, leverage asset-light platforms. Ask yourself how you can facilitate connections rather than owning expensive physical infrastructure. And fourth, own the customer relationship directly. Bypass the middleman entirely so you can harvest the data and build unbreakable brand loyalty.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Take a really hard look at your own value chain today. What job are your customers truly hiring your product to do? And maybe more importantly, what intermediaries can you remove right now to get closer to your customer? The most powerful disruptions out there don't require inventing crazy new technology. They just require the courage to completely rethink the delivery. So, grab a business model canvas, challenge the status quo, and go draft your own revolution. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep innovating.